Where is everyone? Strike. The struggle, strike. Evidence. You think they want money? No, silly. Where are you guys? Hi, and welcome back to The Struggle. I'm your host, Poppy Achilleos. We do apologise for that brief disruption. Our staff members seem to have been a little inspired this week and thought they could attempt industrial action. Teachers, the ABC, The Struggle, what's next, politicians? Anyways, we are all good here. After a quick call and some light negotiation, everyone is back where they belong. Just think about the experience. Remember that. Contacts, networking. That goes, everything goes. You disappear. Yeah, all alone? I will ruin you. Yeah. Okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Cool. Yeah, sweet. All right, bye. And no, that wasn't a threat. That was career preparation. Because the most important skill in media, more than editing, more than producing, more than writing, is learning to smile politely while someone offers you a degrading deal and calls it an opportunity. At least that seems to be how the industry has worked until last week, when ABC journos walked out after being offered a pay rise. Said pay rise was a 10% increase across 3 years and a $1,000 bonus for all ongoing and fixed-term staff covered by the EBA. Which does sound pretty good, if you don't do the maths, or forget that Alan Kohler works for the broadcaster. Inflation is currently sitting at 3.7%, hence the walkout. And this isn't just about the paycheck. Staff and unions said the dispute was also about insecure work, career progression, penalty rates, and reproductive health leave. And just remember, this isn't some university dispute in a stuffy room with a ring light and the use of emotional manipulation. This is the ABC. Its platforms reach about 60% of Australians, so it's kind of a big deal. Journalists are being asked to cover the cost of living crisis while quietly participating in one. And when they push back, management repackages the problem and calls it a solution. Which, to be fair, is exactly what I offered our staff. But we must remember that being in media means that being underpaid isn't a problem. It's a rite of passage. So if you think that sounds appealing, we are hiring. But while the ABC is bargaining what a fair deal looks like, in Victoria they're striking up a different negotiation. What if we just combine everyone? Except, of course, Labor. Our political correspondent Violette explains what last week's South Australian election could mean for the rest of the nation.
Well, Poppy, this election was less of a contest to form government in South Australia than it was for parties to stake their claim as a viable opposition. As party dynamics at all levels of government have been
changed.
But I'm buggered.
Well, shifting lately. Australia's eyes have been glued to South Australia, setting the tone as the first election since Labor swept the nation and a newly split? A potentially united coalition struggles in polls across the country. Back to South Australia, where all eyes were on One Nation, who received their highest primary vote in any election for 3 decades. Many analysts predict One Nation could hold a similar influence in Victoria's election this November. This just in. Reports of Victoria's coalition growing exponentially in size. Where does this come from?
Ah! It is I, former Victorian Liberal Premier Jeff Kennett. Victoria is losing its gold dust. It's morphin' time for the Libs, Nationals, One Nation and Independents to work together and say no to corruption. I call it the Coalition for Victoria to defeat Labor once and for all. Go, go, Coalition!
Even me?
Everyone but you, duh. Who can I call to verify this? Jess? You, One Nation? Everyone, Coalition. No. Wilson says no. Damn it, Kennett, you haven't been in Parliament since 1999. Jess says no. I guess that means nothing to report. Nothing's changed. Polls are polling.
Petrol prices across Australia are still rising, with some stations nearing $3 per litre, and experts warning that they could climb even higher if the global tensions continue. The government has been quick to reassure Australians that there is nothing to worry about, which is, historically, exactly what governments do right before there's something to worry about. So today, joining us in the studio is Energy Minister Chris Bowen.
Is this seat always like this?
Minister, how are we doing?
We're doing well. Everything is well. Australia's doing well. We have 36 days left in the fuel reserve. 36.
So what about after day 36, day 37? Experts say that our reliance on foreign oil is a glaring vulnerability.
Well, day 37 is a new day. A day full of possibilities.
It's not really...
What I'm trying to say is that we're considering things.
Is the government considering rationing?
The government is always considering things. That's what a government does. It considers. Right now, I'm considering whether this seat is comfortable or not. It's not. Could I possibly get a new one?
In the meantime, experts are encouraging Australians to switch to electric vehicles. But where are people getting this $60,000 to buy a new EV when they're still paying $2.50 a litre for petrol?
Well, even better. If you can't afford an EV and you can't afford petrol, you walk. Take some steps in. At the end of the day, fuel is a resource, and resources exist within systems. And when you zoom out far enough, everything is connected. The EVs, the road, you, me, and this chair. Can I please get a new chair?
Well, there you have it. The minister was unavailable for further comment. He, however, has been spotted walking to work. Because when filling up your tank starts to feel like a luxury, the Home Office is a working class dream.
Hey boss, I've got some bad news. I don't think I'll be able to make it into the restaurant today. With all these pumps being sucked dry of any lasting fuel, I simply cannot afford to get myself there. Not to mention my neighbours have been complaining that their fuel is getting stolen straight out of their cars by the local street youths. And I'm afraid I'm next. The International Energy Agency said what? That I can work from home to save fuel? Oh my God, what a relief. I'll get right on it, boss. Why didn't I think of that? I thought it was a little strange for a waiter to be working from home, but I'm sure the customers won't mind. Industry Minister Tim Ayres says that working from home is a viable option, which is great news for those with a cushy 9-to-5 office job. Not the 15.8% of the workforce in retail or food services, or the 16.2% in healthcare, or the combined 18.1% in construction and education. But you get the point. A large chunk of the Australian workforce can't just work from home. However, after that suggestion was made, politicians like Jane Hume have been telling me that reducing my travel time won't even touch the size of the fuel problem, elaborating that it won't help small businesses, truckers, fishers that rely on that fuel supply for an income. Also, denouncing any kind of talk about COVID restrictions and to not trigger the panic buys into another toilet paper frenzy. Whilst we aren't really being forced to work from home, at least we know Jacinta Allen is sleeping soundly tonight, knowing that her work from home legislation might kind of be the solution that won't really work, but we're running with it. For now.
So rest easy, Victoria. The plan is unclear. The solution is questionable. But the responsibility is, as always, all yours. Now we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now let's get into what we've all been waiting for and hasn't been oversaturated in the media at all. Yes, illicit tobacco wars. Let's see some more updates. We've got two pillars of the community here to explain.
They might have you believe that Melbourne is the greatest city in the world, but for a big kahuna trying to head the tobacco market, it ain't all lollipops and rainbows.
Last week was a big one for our clan. Hearing that British American Tobacco is considering quitting its supplies to Australia entirely, man, it even made hard-ass Harry crack a smile. Being the first developed country in the world to have its tobacco market taken over by criminals.
I mean, I'm just honored. British American Tobacco CCO Kingsley Wheaton says Australia's tobacco market is out of control and that we have one of the worst in the world. All I gotta say is, Wheaty, I don't know about you, but it feels pretty great to me. I mean, $50 for a pack of smokes is just for donk. Is it any wonder groups like us have taken over 75% of Australia's illicit tobacco market?
There's only so much crime our posse can handle. That's why we're opening applications.
What I will say is we ain't like those sad little crime groups that snatch ice cream from a kid or rather burn down the ice creamery entirely.
We deal in hard and fast crime.
I'm talking drug trafficking, possession with intent to distribute, and cold-hearted elder abuse.
If this sounds like you, call the number below.
Now that tobacco was legally acquired, like these e-bikes, until they were made unlegally modified. Connie mailed us in this tape.
Take a nice short walk in Melbourne and you'll see lots of vehicles like cars, trams, motorbikes, and the ones that absolutely screwed me over, e-bikes. What up? I'm Connie Crasher, and as you can see, I don't even ride e-bikes and I'm still in danger. I got taken on by one of them, and a little green man was flashing!
Somebody call an ambulance!
Now, New South Wales police just did this major crackdown thing. They stopped 216 people for illegal behavior, issuing 170 fines, 5 criminal charges, and even arrested a bike. Hospitals like St. Vincent's Hospital Sydney are seeing double the injuries from e-bike related accidents. Which, yeah, I believe that.
So what about road safety rules?
Psh, I don't care about rules. But I haven't been home since the accident, so remember to stay off the footpath.
Delivery for the struggle?
Well, now we're on a roll with legalities, so let's shoot up to Queensland, where they love chemical persuasion so much so that they named a town Cairns. Alyssa spent the last 2 weeks immersing herself in local culture and government. What up, list dog?
Snortables, squirtables and smokables, all in the hands of our country's best and brightest, Queenslanders. Minor drug crimes in Queensland are undergoing a makeover, but not exactly pimping your ride, with the Chrysophilia Liberal government rolling back the drug diversion program introduced by Labor in May 2024. First-time offenders would likely be off with a warning, followed by an initial and subsequent drug diversion assessment program, if they were the right kind of drug user. Eligibility was given based off class of substance, intentions for use, and possession of items used for administration, from bong busters to crack pipe collectors, and your mate who swears he only does it when he's drunk. Under the state government's taking a strong stance on drugs as part of its campaign to squash antisocial behaviour, small quantity personal use drugs are now worthy of criminal charges and on-the-spot fines. And the Queensland branch of the Australian Medical Association has protested this approach and others going against harm reduction, including banning pill testing in September 2025. Reports have gathered that pill testing measures were working effectively, and that drug diversion reduced stigma surrounding labelling drug users as criminals. But I beg to differ, delivering a strong message that drugs are unacceptable to a younger generation that is definitely enjoying Play Lunch's music sober. Queensland Police Minister Dan Purdy claimed that the Labor diversion scheme gave offenders multiple chances and sent the wrong message, changing the conversation from harm reduction to just outright reduction. With the highest cannabis consumption per capita and high methamphetamine usage in regional areas, the government is Chrysophilia of it if they believe this targets drugs rather than children.
You heard it here. No more second chances and straight to rehabilitation. Which got me thinking about punishment. Should we just send our offenders to war? Would you go?
Australians between the ages of 18 to 24 believe there is going to be a war on our shores in the next 5 years, according to the ANU. Let's see if they would be willing to go off to war and fight for their country.
So, would you go to war?
No.
No.
Maybe later on. Like the war?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I would, yes.
He's patriotic. Depends on who we're going to war with.
Like World War III? Yeah.
Drop and give me 20 right now. How was that experience? 3 things you would bring to war with you.
My cat.
Someone to take my place.
I would bring some warm socks, dry shampoo,
Gear.
practical, something to remind me of my family.
My phone, get ready with me to go to war.
No, I'll take my AirPods as well.
Mascara. Do you own a pair of boots?
Yes.
Would you say this would be, good battle attire?
A gun.
Food.
Perfect.
There. Is that all?
And a good attitude.
There you have it. Looks like our shores have never been safer.
Now that's some food for thought. We're going to have a little break now and let you think about that one. Welcome back to The Struggle. Now, due to time zones, the free trade agreement reached last week between Canberra and Brussels has only just hit our news desk, and it's left some things to be desired. Toby and Dylan had some suggestions and miscommunications.
More technically Prosecco, Toby?
Well, Dylan, thanks to a new trade deal with the European Union, I think I will. You see, on Tuesday, the federal government and European Commission pushed through a deal, largely to bypass Trump's tariffs. Out of this, we removed tariffs on goods like food and wine, while they removed tariffs on dairy and critical minerals.
The important thing to note is that this has ribbed farmers on both sides. European winemakers are unhappy that we can continue to legally call Prosecco made in Australia Prosecco for the next 10 years.
Meanwhile, real farmers are disappointed that the deal does not meaningfully increase the access of their red meat to European markets. So we got to thinking, what other red meat is going to Europe?
Certain Australians and Europeans can also now expect freer movement throughout the countries.
I've not met a farmer who wouldn't sacrifice a couple of backpackers to improve their business.
What we're proposing is a little distasteful, so let me season it a little bit.
Aussie farmers wanted an annual quota of at least 50,000 tonnes of beef with zero duty and 67,000 tonnes of sheep meat. But the deal allows for only 30,000 tonnes of cow and 25,000 of sheep, less than our competitor, New Zealand.
Seems like they really had the wool dragged over their eyes for that one.
So our proposal is a simple one. Experts reckon that if Euro summer travel isn't interrupted this year, 500,000 Aussies, and with an average body weight of 79.5 kilos, will be technically exporting 19,080 tonnes of red meat at carcass weight. Well, a pretty mean dent in the deficit. While we don't think human meat is quite the same as grass-fed Angus, it's hard to tell the difference in this economy. So why not eat people? I mean, if it's for the farmers.
Although the solution doesn't sound well done...
Dylan, I swear to God...
I don't have any beef with you. It's for the farmers.
Who's left this year? Anyway, here's our meteorology report.
Good evening. Welcome back to the Stormfront Zone. Ex-tropical Cyclone Narelle started its terror a couple of days ago in the Northern Territory and Queensland as a Category 4 cyclone. Narelle carried winds of up to 285 kilometers per hour, which is significantly faster than any of us would like. Thankfully, the Bureau of Meteorology has since declared that Cyclone Narelle has officially ended. The flooding and rain has not. Never fret, we sent Troy, one of our reporters, to all the affected regions to assess the current situation on the ground.
Thanks, Ben. I'm in the Pilbara right now, where major flood warnings are still active, with light rain expected all day. Although, I think the people shouldn't worry too much. I mean, the sky is blue, the trees are shining on us, and the grass has never been greener. The conditions here are actually beautiful.
Well, I think that, hold on. I'm hearing Troy is back.
Yes, Ben. Well, you see, Narelle is notable for making not one, not two, but 3 separate landfalls in Queensland, the Northern Territory, and is currently lingering through Western Australia. The last cyclone to do this feat was Cyclone Ingrid in 2005, which at least had the decency not to arrive during an oil crisis. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Troy. We've organized a towel, I think. Anyways, despite the Bureau of Meteorology claiming that Cyclone Narelle has officially ended, heavy rain and flood warnings remain in place across the affected regions. So please, stay safe out there. Especially to our reporters.
Thanks for that, Troy and Ben. While we're on the topic of places we should avoid going, America is definitely up there. So sorry to all you FIFA fans that aren't cis white males, but your travel plans may have to be put on ice.
The 2026 FIFA World Cup is almost upon us and brings with it an important question. Will any non-Americans actually be able to come to the USA? With the way that things have shapen up, it's unlikely. Since being awarded a FIFA Peace Prize, American President Donald Trump has made it his #1 priority to keep the peace by any means necessary, even if that means sending ICE to give out warm welcomes at airports all around the country. On top of having to pay extortionate prices for nosebleed seats, you're telling me I'm not even going to make it to New Jersey for what I say on Instagram? For shame. I mean, what happened? FIFA has always been such an ethical trailblazer. And if you don't want to bundle up for ice, I've got an alternative. You could go to a place where the grass is really greener. A place after Katy Perry's heart. You know it. You love it. It starts with a C, ends with an A. That's right, I'm talking about beautiful Canada, who will be hosting Australia's debut game, giving them a chance to display their brand new jerseys against the winner of the UEFA playoffs. While the rest of the Socceroos games will take place in the US, it's nice to know that Aussie fans can at least enjoy one game without ICE's frigid gaze.
So while the Socceroos head to America, a place that's becoming increasingly difficult to understand, let alone explain, there is one thing we do understand, and that's media and American pop culture. So here's Denzel with more.
Hello, I'm Denzel Vagani, and this is Media Watch. Tonight's episode is filled with an abundance of pop culture news left, right, and centre. You'll struggle to miss it. To begin, eager to get back on the radio or retrieve his $100 million contract, Kyle Sandilands is taking legal action against the Australian radio network, claiming there was no breach of contract from his fallout with co-host Jackie O, because he was simply just doing his job, making the standard inappropriate comment. Now, speaking of claiming one's reputation, Reuters has published an investigation into uncovering the identity of anonymous street artist Banksy. The mystery man has been painting in the public eye for 3 decades and is said to be a man by the name of David Jones? No, not the shop, but hey, it's a common name, no one would blame you for getting confused. The same way a number of news outlets have also gotten confused, with some using the photo of another British man for Banksy. This isn't the first time this has happened to George Giorgio, as he had to deny being Banksy back in 2024. I guess we are now labelling any British man we see Banksy. Now, on to pop culture news. Ryan Murphy's new show Love Story concluded last week, a dramatised storyline following the untimely death of JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. The show has had the unintended side effect of allowing brands to capitalise on Bessette's name and face. With trends like channel your inner CBK emerging, the show seems to be more of a trending teen romance with the name drop of Kennedy and Bessette. From AH&S to Glee to this, has Ryan Murphy officially earned the title for the most controversial director? Well, that wraps up our Media Watch.
Now that we're all feeling informed, maybe the real media we watched were the friends we made along the way. So thanks for watching another episode of The Struggle. Good night, sleep well, and we'll see you next Monday. The struggle, it's real. Struggles. Strikes.
Cleanup of the region, as some areas recorded hundreds of millimeters of rain last night. Actually, if it's flooded, forget about it. Back to you in the studio.
Alright. Hi, hello, and welcome back to the host. Oh.
Yes, man. Well, you see, Narelle is notable for not from. Start it again, quickly.
Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make the batter bitter. So she bought some better butter, better than the bitter butter, to make her batter better.